Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to be making gâteau Nantais. So this is Nantes cake, but in cake form. Last time I made Monet's Nantes cakes, which were biscuits, but a more traditional thing is an almond based cake with some icing on top, which is flavoured with the cake, and the icing is flavoured with some dark rum. And I've looked at several recipes for this and they all seem pretty much the same. The important thing is the almonds and the rum and the icing on the top. And for this I have my oven preheating at 180 Celsius, that's 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit. And I have an 8-inch cake tin. Mine has a removable base, but you don't need it. And I've also lined it with parchment paper. But again, if you just grease and flour the inside of the tin, that will be fine. And the recipe takes a little while to bake, 40 to 45 minutes, but there's only a few ingredients and it's quite simple. So for the ingredients I have 125 grams, which is 1 stick and 1 tablespoon, scant tablespoon of butter. I have 3 medium eggs, which would be large in the USA, and I've beaten those together. I have 45 millilitres, which is 3 tablespoons of dark rum. Now, if you wanted to make a version of this cake without alcohol, you could use maybe some orange extract or even some almond extract or something like that. I have 40 grams, which is a scant third of a cup of plain flour. I have 150 grams, which is 3/4 of a cup of caster sugar, but you could use granulated sugar. And I have 125 grams, which is 1 1/4 cups of ground almonds. Those are the ingredients for the cake. Now, for the icing, and there's also, before we put the icing on the cake, when it's still hot, we brush it with more dark rum. So I have 4 tablespoons, 60 millilitres of dark rum. May not need all of it. I have 100 grams, which is about 4/5 of a cup of icing sugar, and in case I need it I have a couple of tablespoons of water. So I'm going to set those items to the side for the time being because I don't need them, and we're going to cream the butter and the sugar together. Now you could do this by hand or you can do it in a stand mixer. I'm going to do it with my hand mixer. It should work just fine. So we put the butter, which is softened to room temperature, into the bowl, and we add in the caster sugar, and then I'm just going to beat that until it's all combined and nice and light and fluffy. It will take a little while, but we'll do it. So that's beaten together quite nicely. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue beating it as I gradually pour the egg into it and mix it until that all combines. Now, if it begins to separate, it really doesn't matter because it will all come together in the end. So that's the eggs mixed in. So the next thing I'm going to do is to put in the ground almonds, and I'm going to mix those until they're all combined. So that's nicely mixed in, and the next thing to do is to put in our 3 tablespoons of dark rum, and we'll put the flour in as well, and then we're going to just mix that. And you can do this with a hand mixer, but only on slow until it's all combined. And what I will do is finish that off with the spatula, just to scrape down to make sure I get the flour mixed in properly. So that's combined, and then I need to put that into my prepared cake tin. And spread it around to make sure that it's level across the base. And that's fairly level. So I'm now going to put that into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for 40 to 45 minutes until it's coming away from the edges of the tin, and a skewer in the centre comes out clean when it's poked in. Then I'll take it out, and as soon as I take it out, while it's still hot, I'll come back and we'll go on to the next step. So the cake is baked, as you can see, and it's come away from the sides, and the centre is cooked by testing with a skewer. So I'm going to turn it out onto this wire rack. And take the base off, and then we'll peel the paper off as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush a couple of tablespoons. You remember I have 4 tablespoons of dark rum in here. I'm going to brush a couple of tablespoons over the base. Just like that. And then I'm going to leave that to cool down completely, and once it's cooled down I'll be back with you and we'll do the icing. The cake is cooled down now, so I'll just put it to one side for a minute, and I'll take our icing sugar and our remaining 2 tablespoons of dark rum, and I have a couple of tablespoons of water here, but I think I'll probably only need a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half. So what I'll do is I'll put the rum into the icing sugar, and I'll stir that around until it becomes a sort of thick paste. And then what I want to do is add enough water that it remains thick, but it's spreadable. So I'm going to do it a little bit at a time, maybe half a teaspoon. And if you do this and it's too runny, you can always add more icing sugar to thicken it up again. Add a little bit more. And I like that. I think that's got a nice thickness to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that onto our cake and then spread it all over up to the edge, but I don't want it to run down the side. So that's iced quite well, and what I'm going to do, just where I can see a couple of little bits overhanging, I'm just going to wipe those with a piece of paper towel just to get a little bit of that so that it doesn't run down. It's almost setting now, so it should be fine. Just like that. Of course, if it does run down, it doesn't matter, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that set now, so that the icing firms up. Then I'll come back and we'll cut it. The gâteau Nantais has now cooled down. Or say cooled down, the icing has firmed up a little bit. So I've cut a slice so you can see the inside of the cake, and it looks nice and moist. So I'll have a taste of it. That does taste very good. You can, it has a lovely soft texture, and it's nice and moist, and you can taste the rum. That's very good indeed. So that's going to be it for this recipe, which is quite simple. And it can be done in a couple of hours, really. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, which will take you to this recipe, and I'll also put a link to it below the video as well. And then I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future, so until then, happy baking.